for example, if you're an entrepreneur and you get to that stage where you got the house, you got the car, whatever, maybe that was your why, but is that your true why?
I can give you the medication, the antidepressant that you're feeling, but you're going to come back in 3 months and feeling the same thing because you have not changed the fundamentals.
There's a movement I'm seeing amongst men that vulnerability, that willingness to connect and have those meaningful connections, as you alluded to, because it matters.
I'm working, I'm providing for my family, and then when things kind of, shit hits the fan, that's when we realize, okay, now I got to take care of myself. But it's too late.
Hey Nation, and welcome to the show. We're so glad that you have tuned in again with us this week. And today is going to be a really powerful conversation about men at midlife. You know, it's a time that most men are supposed to hit their stride, but in reality, for a lot of men, it's a time when things start to fall apart. And in the studio today, we've got 2 leadership coaches and 2 doctors that are here to talk about the effects of midlife on men, everything from the slow burn of stress to the physical decline to the emotional isolation that we just don't talk about. And it's going to be a real game changer. Whether you're a man tuning in or there's an important man in your life, you're going to want to listen in. This could literally save a life because the stats don't lie and the silence that men are living with is deadly. We're going to break this wide open. Kwadwo, Anmar, so great to have you here. I have admired you both, big fans of yours, and to meet you for the first time, Kwadwo is really, really great. Anmar, you and I have had a chance to work together and know each other better, but to have you both on the show today is a great honor. You both are great advocates of mental, physical health and taking good care of ourselves, and for men, it's a problem. So let's start with a gut check here. If you were to describe midlife for men in one word, what word would you choose and why?
I think it's isolating. I hate to say it, and maybe it's making me a little bit vulnerable here, but a lot of us, we're striving for success. Yeah. We climb this ladder, and in my example, I'm a department head. There's not many of us. You have these huge aspirations, and there's not as many people to share it with. Yeah. There's not many confidants. There's not many people that you could go to sit to go through your similar experience. And as we get older, we get more, rigid in our ways. It's harder to be vulnerable. It's harder to be open to say like what your real concerns are. You're trying to manage family life, trying to stay married. Like I'm still on my first wife. Just joking, Kat. I call her first wife. First wife, yeah.
You know this is going on.
Yeah, she loves it.
We're just not going to tell her that you said that. She cannot watch this episode.
Listen,
right?
She doesn't watch any of my shit. She's like, if you show me another clip of you, I'm going to leave this out. Yeah. But just honestly, I find it's been isolating, especially, I had a bit of a unique situation during the pandemic too, where you're doing a lot of advocacy and covering a lot of tough topics, and people felt that they couldn't speak openly about certain things. And so when you're going out there and most of the stuff that you're getting is hate speak back towards you, you kind of feel like you're on an island. But I got to say, overall though, especially conversations like this, things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Amazing. But I love that. Love that.
For me, it's a checkpoint. It's a checkpoint where you realize, you've done what you've done all this life, and you've accomplished where you are. My journey is different from Kwadwo. So I immigrated to Canada, and so I uprooted and came to Canada at the age of 30. And so really kind of now I'm in late 40s, not mid 40s. I'm kind of realizing, okay, I have worked hard. I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. I'm kind of on that cruise mode, but then it's a checkpoint now where I feel that I need that sense of community and that sense of men around me, or just a community that helps me kind of, realize what I have done. Is it enough? Am I fulfilled? And so really all those questions kind of check like when you are in midlife, and I don't even know what midlife is now. At what age are we defining midlife?
Right. Well, that's a great question, because I was going to ask, like, is midlife even real? Is this one of those made up kind of
midlife crisis
cycle? But is midlife crisis a legit thing that happens? And when we think of men in our 40s and 50s, what are some of those psychological or emotional changes that are happening within us?
I mean, I think it's real, personally. Yeah. I'll just speak more on my opinion than like medical literature, but your testosterone levels are going to start going down. You're going to be losing your lean muscle mass, all these things that are tied to your mood and to your sense of purpose. So I think it's real. I was waiting when I hit 40. I was like, okay, here's my midlife. Here I go. I'm just going to start having the crisis and so forth. And to be honest with you, it's been more closer as I approach 50 because you realize, especially in my line of work, we're not going to live forever.
Right.
And there's a lot of things I'm hoping to accomplish. And now I feel like that clock is ticking. And, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you felt like you got all the time in the world.
Right.
But there's one thing to be, because there's a lot of aspects of aging. Like a lot of us, I believe, will probably live a longer life, but it's the quality of life. Yeah. They use a term like lifespan versus health span. And that's, to me, is my question mark. Is as I get older, as I want to be able to try and create these amazing enterprises and move the needle when it comes to healthcare, and am I going to be in a state where I can enjoy it and really feel fulfilled? And so I got a ticking, like a clock going behind me saying, like, let's hustle. Yeah. Actually, not to digress, but on the way here, I just listened to an Alex Hormozi podcast. It was a 12-minute one, and on decision making and speed and how valuable he's found that to be. And it's something I personally take very seriously, is decision making in general, but that velocity. Yeah. And I think this is something that, and unfortunately, because of that clock behind me, is being accelerated in so many ways.
Well, it's interesting because as we get in, on this side of the table, we have the 40-somethings, right? On this side of the table, we have the 50-somethings.
Okay.
I just recently turned 54. I know I don't look a day over 53, but I am. And I recently, you become very aware that I have lived more years than I have left. Yeah. And I want to make those years really, really count. And there was a time I could not have said this, but recently Kate and I were having a conversation, and I said to her, I'd been reflecting to say, you know what, when I think about my life at this stage, I believe I still got lots of years to give and lots of good things to do and accomplish. But if I drop dead tomorrow, which I don't plan to, I plan on being around for a very long time, I could do that feeling very satisfied that my life has been on point. My life has been on purpose, right? That I found, and I think that's the shift. I think as we get older, it's less about success and it's more about significance.
It's funny because Kate, Wendy, and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. She shared that story and said that, and she said her response was, "Yeah, but I'm not good with it."
Like, well, that's good. She still wants to be around. I was kind of testing the water there, right?
Back it up, Eric. Like,
I think to follow up on what Kwadwo said in terms of the changes or that kind of midlife point. It's, yes, your testosterone changes, your body starts to change, your cognitive decision making also starts to slow down. But what I really found that kind of midlife crisis or checkpoint is the identity, because you work up your whole life into that kind of point where you're building. You've achieved that identity, and then you're kind of like at a edge of a cliff where, okay, do I maintain that identity? Do I jump further and go further? And that's where I find a lot of men struggle with that, is losing their self, losing their identity. It's like, well, I'm a father, I'm a doctor, I've done this, but then now what?
Exactly. We refer to it on the show as the supposed life. I followed the formula. I did all the stuff that I'm supposed to do. Yeah. And a lot of men find themselves at midlife not where they had envisioned being, that they're not as successful or achieved or whatever. And for men, I think we find our sense of identity and worth in what we do. It's like our accomplishments and our sense of worth are so closely linked, and that's really dangerous. Yeah. And I think that's why at midlife, a lot of men start to come apart.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a very good point. I had this epiphany relatively recently, and I actually added a chapter in my new book about this. It really comes down to purpose. Yeah. Like, what is our drive? What's our why? Yeah. And I think a lot of times when you're young, you're figuring it out, and then as you get older, you might lose that. Like like, for example, if you're an entrepreneur and you get to that stage where you got the house, you got the car, whatever, maybe that was your why, but is that your true why? Is that what's really driving you? Like you guys were talking about stuff versus, for lack of a better word, things versus impact. Like, and to me, that's the real driver. Like, what is the impact that you're gonna leave? And when you do link with, or you're aligned with your impact, your why, and what will drive you, everything seems to fall into place. Mentally, physically. Like if you're lost, that's more likely to pound down some double cheeseburgers with no pickle. That's my go-to.
Good to know.
At McDonald's, if you ever stop and buy some McDicks, double cheeseburger, no pickle. I won't say no. But like, I think when you don't have that purpose, this is when a lot of things fall apart. And I do wonder if that's one of the drivers as we age.
Well, and aren't guys, and we're wired for legacy, right? Like, I mean, you think about all through history, that's what it was about. Living forever was how you passed on your legacy. And even to this day, right? If you're famous, you do something well, you get a street named after you. You somehow
or an empire.
Or an empire, right? Exactly. You want that out of that purpose. It's how do I live forever through the legacy that I'm building, whatever that is. And when we're younger, we're not thinking that way.
No.
It's as we get older, we're like, what am I leaving behind? How am I impacting my kids, future generations, whatever that might be?
And I think that's why a lot of men at midlife, again, if they've not lived a deliberate life, an intentional life, let's face it, most of us don't. We talk on the show all the time about how most human beings just coast through life instead of choosing. They drift instead of deciding. And so we end up somewhere, but it's not necessarily what we signed up for. And when you reach midlife and you feel like your life's not been on point, it can be a pretty scary journey to start asking that question. So who am I? What do I stand for? And how am I going to redirect my life into something more meaningful than just the day-to-day grind, right?
As a family physician, I see that day in, day out with men who have retired recently. Their kids have gone to school, their houses are empty. And I think it's that fear of being insignificant. That's it. Like I am not significant anymore. And I always think of Kwadwo as well, kind of like, okay, what is he doing? He's an ICU doc. He's got a podcast. He's solving healthcare. And I think what I think about you, kind of like, you're creating that significance beyond just being the identity of you, just being an ICU doctor or a business coach. You're creating more so that you maintain that significance, you maintain that contribution. Because once men lose that, I have seen many men come after retirement 6 months asking for antidepressants because what are they doing? They're going grocery shopping, they're coming back, they're mowing the lawn.
You can only golf so much.
Absolutely.
I mean, just to reinforce it, they die. I see that on a regular basis. Like they 6 months after retirement, 18 months after retirement, where they lost their purpose, they lost their drive, and things just totally fall apart. And so you see that also when, not to get too morbid, but if they lose their spouse, like especially if they lose their wife, that's another period where they spiral. But thanks for the kind word.
Yeah, by the way. We've seen that, right? You had the stats at one point where we saw this, where for men in particular, the stats around suicide rates are so significant because
there are 4 out of 5 suicides in the U.S. are men. It's 4 times higher than the suicide rates among women, and in Canada, it's 3 out of 4.
And
it's
often,
insane.
And often,
it's a pandemic we don't talk about.
Yeah, and it's because their entire community is their wife. Is their spouse, and when they're gone, now they have no one because they haven't cultivated and built those strong relationships, like the true heartfart relationships with other men. They're lost at that stage. It's interesting that you'd say that.
But like I said, you guys are part of the puzzle here, but there's a movement I'm seeing amongst men that vulnerability, that willingness to connect and have those meaningful connections, as you alluded to, because it matters. I honestly, I truly believe that for that fulfillment, for that ability to feel connected, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
I think the pandemic just kind of, skyrocketed this. And again, I see that with younger men as well, where now, they're working from home. And so really they're not interacting with a lot of people. It's easy for them to roll out of bed, go on their laptop, still in their sweatpants at home. They don't go out as much. And like, I have examples of men who's like, what do you do throughout the day? It's like, well, I go out for a smoke and come back and work. And so that's isolation, not being surrounded by other men. I think, back in the day, men were working in factories and production lines, and you're interacting with men every day and with just the general people in the population. Yeah. That helps you grow, that helps you develop, that helps you learn.
We're social creatures. We're not meant to live, you use the word isolate, right? And we're not meant to live in isolation. And we don't talk about, because men, period, we've been conditioned not to talk about it, right? If we're struggling, the common mantra is just rub some dirt on it. Just get over it, figure it out. To be vulnerable is to be weak. I remember when we first started having these conversations, men-specific conversations, and we had some pretty negative backlash online who said, you guys are contributing to everything that make men weak. Vulnerability is for women. This was the kind of stuff we were hearing. And we're like, no, actually, that silence, that strong upper lip, that keep it all to yourself, that's actually what's killing men. They're bottling it up, they're keeping it all inside. They're isolated from one another, because we talk about how hard it is at our age to make friends, right? And to build that community. So when we reach that certain age and now we're not feeling a sense of purpose and we're feeling a little lost, is it any wonder that midlife can be so difficult for us?
A couple of weeks ago, I had a young man come in with workplace accommodations and wanting to work from home because now the mandate is going back. And I said, absolutely not. I think this is exactly what we're trying not to do for you. You know, you are going to be isolated. You're going to be working at home. You're going to be in your basement in sweatpants all day. In 3 months, you're going to come back and say, what am I doing? I'm like, no, you need to go to the office. Yes, we don't like.
I bet you were his best friend at that point.
No. I'm sick. I'm not everyone's cup of tea.
Probably tweeted about it. Put it on it.
Got a Google review. But I see it in myself. I see it in if I am at home for a couple of days, not going out and not dressing up and not showing up, it's going to affect my mood. It's going to affect everyone around me as well.
Yeah.
Can I just say too that I know we're talking men in midlife, but I am legit scared about our youth.
Yeah.
Obviously the pandemic, I hope this is not too controversial to say, but it was part of the reason why I wrote the first book was kids didn't learn how to lead. They didn't learn how to approach significant problems in a way that was value focused as opposed to fear.
Yeah.
And remember when we were all kids, if there was some kind of craziness happening in society, whether it's university or in high school, there would be an uproar.
Yeah.
Right? Like people would be outside protesting or whatever. There were kids that were saying you couldn't go to school because of whatever policy. And there was nothing. Yeah. There was nothing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was crazy. And I'm seeing this in our youth and I'm like, what the hell is happening? Like obviously everything that Anmar was mentioning, you're isolated, you're stuck on a screen, you're just being like drained mentally and physically, emotionally, spiritually. Yeah. But like this is the people that are gonna run the country one day, man.
Yeah.
Like this is scary shit. So to me, like this message, not only for us at our stage, but for our youth, and I think we're all fathers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be that example for the littles. Like I'm married to a psychologist, so it's a little bit easier.
Is it?
Is it?
So.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Not for you.
Yeah. Not the worst. I'm like, she asks me how I feel about shit. I'm like, are you doing it again? Are you doing it again? Leave me alone.
Stop analyzing.
Exactly. But it's more the kids, like the ability, like the importance of, like, I'm raising 3 sons, and I grew up old school. You don't talk about your emotions. You don't talk about how things are feeling. Suck it up, get up, and that's my tendency. But when my 6-year-old, he got hit in the face with a basketball, my old school self is like, get up and get going. And then the other side is like, he's 6 and he's scared, address his concerns, but obviously encourage him now hey, get out there because that's our identity, man. Yeah, we got to face it. Yeah,
100%. And I think we've had lots of other men on the show when we've done these. We call them mindful masculinity series. Choose the kind of man you want to be. Don't let society dictate to you the old forms and the old norms that are so unhealthy. And so many times the topic of what about our young men, that we actually need to start when they're kids, when they're young, because often by the time they reach our age, like think of how hard, I don't know all of your stories. We've talked openly about our journey on the show. I ended up burning out 3 times over the course of my career, was very much committed to purpose, but had all of this brokenness, right, that I had never dealt with inside. And this was impacting me pretty significantly, right? Depression, anxiety, the rest of it. Most people would look at me and say, not you. And I said, oh, you just didn't know the whole story.
Of course.
But we need to start we need to start rewriting the program before the program gets too set in our young men. When you think of the Andrew Tates of the world, you think of the Jordan Petersons and the other that are sending a very mixed message about what it means to be a man in today's world. I think part of rediscovering purpose for men in their 40s and 50s is to be that example to the younger generation by taking that courageous step and going first and opening up and demonstrating that we don't need to be broken emotionally or like, what have we said on the show? Most men live in black and white, right? They don't live in Technicolor because they've literally cut off an entire part of their being, which is their emotional self. And was it Bill Burr that did this great piece?
I posted about it this morning.
I had seen it, so I laughed when I saw your post. He does this great piece on men have 2 emotions, right? Anger and
okay.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Exactly. It's like,
so he rages a little bit, and then somebody asks, somebody asks him, well, how you doing? I'm fine. I'm fine.
We know how the feeling spectrum. We just don't know how to express.
We don't know how to express.
Yeah, and I saw that the same thing. And like, wow, this is profound.
Yeah,
and it's true. We do that every day. But I think some of the younger men don't have those role models, and I think we need to show them. So this morning I'm dressing up and trying to come here. So Zane, my 10-year-old, is like, where are you going, Papa? You early? Like, I'm going to record a podcast episode. And he comes to me, he's like, you're just going to get one view. So why are you doing it? I'm like, dude, thank you so much. So I have to sit down with him and it's like, even though I'm going to get one view, it's okay. I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to go and do and talk. And like, he was just doing it.
He's very concerned for you.
Yeah, he was like, you're just going to get one view. Why do you do it?
So we know that men, we bottle it inside. We struggle again. With those emotions. You guys are doctors, and I'm real curious about this. The stereotype is most men, they avoid doctors. It's the last resort. And I can speak from experience from not that long ago. I had a case of hives and it was breaking out pretty bad. And it was...
Yeah, I thought you had leprosy.
Yeah. I thought I might away too. But I just figured as long as it didn't hit my face, I was good. I could hide it, right? And it was my wife who finally was like, for fuck's sake, go see the doctor, right?
You're that guy.
I'm that guy. And I'm fine. It'll go away in a couple of days.
It'll clear up.
And it didn't until I finally saw a doctor and actually got a treatment. Is it true that that's what guys are like? And then what's one of the craziest excuses or stories that of a guy coming to you that was
refusing to
come and came to you and you were like, how on earth did you not come 6 months ago?
Believe me, Rob, every day. Men like you every day. They're coming in like
men like me every day.
My wife told me to come here because I have this okay, yes, great, you've got an ally. But I mean, we always kind of outsource that care to another person. And so that's where we do not advocate for our own health. It's because we kind of regress in a way to that kind of like young boy, small boy, somebody has to look after us. Or if we are looking after ourselves, then we are seen as needy, or we are seen as, someone who's kind of like, you got to kind of like keep calm and carry on. And that kind of mantra, like that man had a heart attack and fell. Like, yeah, but we saw the signs. We could have prevented that. But it's just that kind of like, no, I'm just going, I'm working, I'm providing for my family. And then when things kind of, shit hits the fan, that's when we realize, okay, now I got to take care of myself. But it's too late.
Yeah.
The same thing. I see it, unfortunately, when it's life-threatening. So you see the delay in heart attacks, symptoms. They're just like, oh, it's fine, indigestion, it's fine, and they don't wake up. And and then you see, I was thinking of, I can't give too much details, but people with basically their limb is about to fall off. Like they're so the blood flow to their limb is so poor, but they're like, you know what, I'll tough it out. And by the time they see you, it needs to be chopped off. Like, so it's wild. And like, let's be honest, I won't lie. Like I almost feel like being in the medical profession, I delay shit as much as possible.
I hear
like, you want to put that up my ass? You're gonna put that in my ding dong? I don't think so, son.
Right?
Yeah, like I mean, we all need to get our prostate colonoscopies and so forth. So don't get it done.
Just take that ring off.
Yeah. Where's my Oura ring? Shit, I need my data. Oh my God.
It's reading the wrong data.
It's reading oh man, things haven't moved in a long time. Holy cow. Your odor is awful.
This is terrible.
Yeah. But yeah,
well, so I was raised, my dad was a successful businessman here locally. He had his own accounting firm, very successful. And then he and my mother moved down to California. They were doing some humanitarian work in Tijuana, Mexico area. And he was always like, from a young age, I remember saying, doctors are useless. And he had a reason to say that. He was resistant to it because he had suffered with like really bad migraines most of his adult life, and doctors could do nothing for him. They just had been unable to find a way to help him. And so I would hear him, doctors are useless, don't bother. Like, and he died. He would end up dying at the age of 66 after a 2-year battle with lung cancer, never smoked a day in his life. And I've always wondered, did he wait too long, to go see the doc because he was feeling a certain way? And if he had gone sooner, could they have done more for him, right? So I've taken that lesson to heart. And it used to require Kate prompting me quite a bit to go show up at the doctor. And now when something's not feeling right, I'm like, you know what? I've got too much to do. I've got too much purpose to live. I don't want to be taken out by something I just ignored. So I'm actually that guy now that goes, okay, something's wrong. My doc lately, he's like, I keep seeing you more regularly. Like, normally you come in like every 5 years, and only because something's wrong. I said, I know, doc. I mean, I'm trying to do better at my age.
But that's the magic. I mean, I'm not going to digress a bit, but that's the magic of having that primary care access, like seeing someone like Anmar, like, to know that you could address these issues before they become a problem. Like we saw, unfortunately, over the course of the pandemic, because people weren't seeing their doctors and so forth, we saw so many late cases, like stuff that was, you'd see these tumors in people's head and necks that were like beyond resection or beyond surgery because they've gone too far. So, as much as they might be teasing you, there's a lot of credibility in addressing those needs early.
Yeah. Preventative care versus I think you've rebranded your podcast. I think it's prevention over prescription or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was I like talking this stuff too with Anmar, because like we don't learn about this shit too much in medical school about the preventative health side. Like if you ask me how much I learned about nutrition, I want to say maybe an hour.
Yeah.
I don't remember an exercise lecture. Maybe there was an hour on sleep, but more on like what we could do to recognize issues with sleep, like sleep apnea and so forth. But if we did put a little bit more emphasis on the preventative side, to me, it could be magical, because by the time they land with us, you don't come out the same person.
Right. Well, and you got different types of doctors. I remember I had a family doctor for a lot of years. She's retired now, I felt she was just a pill pusher. And for her, everything I came in for, she had a prescription for it. And I remember I'd have arguments with her and say, well, you can prescribe that. I'm not taking it. Like, work harder. Give me another solution. Yeah. And then you have doctors who really do understand. Now, at times, a prescription is the absolute best solution. And I take, for blood pressure, I recognize.
For your leprosy, you mean?
And for my leprosy, I was taking stuff. And let me touch you.
Can we leave?
No, I'm just making sure that he gets the leprosy.
He's spreading.
I'm just spreading the joy.
You can keep that joy to yourself.
But you're right. There is sometimes, even for doctors, there can be lazy doctors who just do this and figure it out. Or there's doctors who say, okay, I'm going to understand. I'm going to prescribe prevention before I prescribe other stuff.
Yeah.
I think, Rob, it's the way the health system is set up as well. Our health system is reactive, is not proactive. And so the way physicians are compensated and the way we get paid is basically, it's easier for me to, okay, here's a prescription for you. But if I spend more time, then that's going to kind of like, okay, I'm going to get paid the same. And so I don't want to get into this, but unfortunately, I mean, the way the health system just does not pay doctors to promote more health. It is reactive. It is basically a patchwork. It's Band-Aid solution. And I offer that to my patients, like, hey, I can give you the medication, the antidepressant that you're feeling, but you're going to come back in 3 months as feeling the same thing because you have not changed the fundamentals. You're not exercising, you're not sleeping well, you're not eating right. Yeah, no medication is going to help with that.
There's no magic pill.
There's no magic pill. Yeah,
100%. 100%. I know you're a major advocate for changing the healthcare system. And I think our producer Steve asked you when you walked in earlier, have you changed healthcare yet? You said, yes, I have, but no one's listening. I think was your.
Yeah, it's funny because this might seem like a bit of a digression, but I've done the research side. I'm done now. I'm a hospital administrator. And I actually think to move the needle is going to come from circles like this. It's entrepreneurial side. Yeah. I honestly, I feel like that's the lever. And this is probably why I'm starting to dance with this a little bit more, because everything is too slow. Government's too slow, hospital too slow, health authorities too slow. And people need this now. Like the system is, like Anmar's touching on this, but I'll tell you, this is the worst I've seen. For me, practicing as a clinician, this is the worst I've seen it. Lack of primary care, the merge wait times, times to wait for elective surgery. Like this is the worst it's gotten. And I'm frustrated because some of the most simple solutions are not being not being pushed forward right now. Like it's stuff that should have been done yesterday. I'm hearing a lot of like blah blah blah, but I'm not seeing any progress. Yeah. And so to me, I won't lie, like I'm frustrated, and I don't want to digress too, but there are a lot of low level solutions. For example, I like the idea of a national licensure. That's like a simple measure that would be easy. So either of us right now, if they needed help in Manitoba to support them clinically, we couldn't do it. It would take like 6 to 8 weeks to get our licenses or registered. That should be national shit. Yeah. Right. It's like it's such an easy step. Yeah. Like like all these little things that once again I don't want to digress, but it's circles like this to me that is going to start to move the needle.
I heard something profound yesterday. I was at a meeting at CHIO. And so the way we focus on healthcare, for instance, pediatric care is the least of a focus in priorities in terms of government, in terms of funding. And the mantra behind it is, well, kids don't vote. So really, wow. But when we look at the profound impact of delayed wait times at CHIO, for instance, in terms of access to care, access to mental health care, it is insane. But when you look at that effect on the trajectory, kids who are having difficulty with development and autism spectrum disorder, they're waiting up to 4 years to be seen. Imagine a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old waiting for 4 years. Right. That is impactful. That is a profound time of when they develop. And so you extrapolate that, and then you have kind of people who are coming into. So it's not just the aging; it's really we got to start from the roots and our health system. 100%. Yeah.
For back to men in their midlife for a second. For a lot of men, burnout, high stress, lack of sleep, coupled with hustle culture, is almost like worn like a badge of honor, right? And seeking help or asking for help is seen as a weakness. How do we change that narrative?
That's difficult. I mean, I struggle with that every day, and I'm sure Kwadwo is the same. And we're trying to kind of be all and do all, and with families and communities as well. But I find really it's about slowing down, slowing down in terms of the way you think, slowing down. I find even in walking and just being more present, because really, like, yeah, I mean, you're probably kind of going from one shift to another and doing this, and then you've got a recording here, and we all do that. And it's kind of like, you know, it's become kind of a norm where it's an emotional state where you ask someone, "Hey, Eric, how are you doing?" "I'm busy."
Busy, yeah.
Like, when did busy become an emotional state?
Right, right. We're actually doing a show on that in the coming weeks called "How to Escape the Busy Trap."
Yes,
and it really comes down to, I think we see being busy as being important. It's tied to worth, and the busier we are, the more important we feel. But being busy doesn't mean you're important. It just means you're accessible. And those two things couldn't be more different.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I take a lot of pride in, we do, both of us, we handle a lot. We do a lot on our plate.
You guys are very active. Yeah.
But if you ever hear me say I'm busy or brag about it, then punch me in the right testicle.
No, in the right one?
The right
testicle, not the left one.
Yeah.
Folks, you heard it here first. It's the right one.
So busy. No,
Oh, are you testing us?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Anmar, over to you.
They're recording. But in all seriousness, I think one of the key things to focus on is prioritize. And I think this is what a lot of people don't do well. I get in a lot of arguments with my wife actually about this, because that's her default. I'm busy, I'm handling this or that or whatever. And there's a good book, I mentioned this recently, the one thing or something along those lines. And it's basically like, if you look at your massive to-do list, what is the one thing that's going to move the needle?
Yeah.
Stop telling me about I didn't finish this form or this email bullshit. It's this meeting, this podcast today. That's the one thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that to me is one of the most important things to allow yourself to slow down, to have that focus and have that intention. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the best at this. Like I still run around. But I think this is a key step for this. And then any change at a high level that you're mentioning, I think the best example is just be the change. Like us just showing, hey, we're willing to slow down. Hey, we're willing to say that we're getting close to burnout. Here are my signs that I'm getting close to burnout because I am not enjoying the stuff I typically would be. I'm a little shorter with the family, all these things. I think being open, but at the same time being that example for the men around us is a path forward.
Well, so I love that, because having experienced burnout, I'm a high energy guy. Like I'm like the Energizer Bunny, right? Except without all the manic movement.
No, you do those.
Okay, let's be fair. Let's be honest. Okay. But what I've become very clear on is that those seasons of my life, I didn't burn out because I was working too hard. It's because I was misaligned. I was out of alignment with who I am, what I stand for. And I think a lot of folks, when we talk about burnout, it's really not, because those of us that have discovered passion and purpose in our work and in our lives typically are perhaps busier than the average individual. But that work energizes. That work actually brings life. It's life-giving as opposed to draining. It's the misalignment. And I think, again, when we come back to men at midlife, men that we've been programmed since we're little boys, that what we accomplish determines our value. And so success to us is the only way we feel good about ourselves. And when we experience failure, we feel like we've blown it. And then so you get to midlife, and with the rate of divorce, and I mean, I'm divorced. I've been divorced before after 20 years, right? You start to feel, well, I'm failing at life. I'm failing at marriage, right? You start having kids and realize that what's the saying? We think that our job as parents is to help our kids grow up, but the universe gave them to us to help us grow up.
Exactly.
Right?
It's so right.
And as much as even you're committed to being a good dad, like we fuck up. Like, let's face it, mistakes are made. And then you feel like I never got training on how to be a good dad, right? And so you start to feel the shame and the failure around that. Unless we can be talking about this stuff, like that, what we have found to be so life transforming is as soon as one guy opens up and says, here's what's going on for me, you don't get like, oh, you're weak and you get you too.
Yep.
You too.
True.
You too, right?
Yeah.
Right. So changing the narrative to me is like, we got to start talking. We got the silence. When I said at the beginning of the show, the silence is deadly. Silence is killing us at a rate that's it's scary. It's just frightening to me. And I know for this next chapter of my life, I'm committing to saving a few and doing what I can to change that narrative.
We stay in our head too much. And I think, that's the killer for men. It's, you kind of keep on rehashing. And of course, you go into a dark place where, as you said, all of those mistakes that I did, that divorce that I had, that mess up that I had with my kids, and it's just kind of a cycle after cycle. And that just, it makes you live half life. You're not showing up fully. You're not showing up fully. Your job and your profession and your community as well. And what happens is, you go into that dark place, into that cycle.
You mentioned earlier
100%.
About how there is this movement when we talked about men, community and building relationships. I recently just rewatched the TV series Band of Brothers.
Oh,
right?
so nice.
Right?
Such a good show.
It is right.
So good.
But this notion of guys, and I can think of, I've got a good friend of mine. He just retired almost a year ago now, 9 months ago, and one of the first things he did is he started to have a cigar night. Hey guys, let's once a week we're all going to just whoever's available.
You're talking to doctors. You probably shouldn't mention the cigar thing.
Cigars are healthy.
With scotch.
With scotch. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
No. But so he
does. Band of brothers right here.
Right. He does this weekly cigar night, and I know another guy. A bunch of the neighbors, the guys, they get together once a week just to sit in the somebody's garage and stuff like that. What are for guys that are considering doing that, or maybe being the one to say, I'm going to take the initiative and start to invite people together? What are some of the mental and even physical benefits to guys gathering, sharing, being open? Why is this a movement of guys building community so important to our health?
Yeah. Personally, I just feel, I think Eric said it before, like this is what we're meant to do, is connect. If you look at those Netflix shows, the Blue Zones.
Yes.
We were just in one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which one?
In Costa Rica.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
This is not an expert opinion. It's my humble opinion. Most of that benefit to me is connection.
Yes.
Is like and having a purpose. The elderly folks feel like they have a role still in the family. They're still talking and connecting with people their age and of all generations. So I think, number one, like this is just the way we are wired. Number two, having something that you have to look forward to is powerful on your mental health. We know that from, I don't know what the literature is, whether it's psychology or whatnot, but even if you put something in your calendar that's months away, that could have some significant impact on your mood. And just, I think over the last few years, we forgot how to just find play and joy. And guys were good at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You heard us before we started recording. I started talking about like my interests outside of can we
I don't know. That was going to stay in preamble, right?
Don't make Steve have to edit this right now.
I wasn't specific.
Time out here.
I'll let y'all deduce.
Yeah, you can add comments.
Put in the comments below what you believe that I was referring to.
Just bleep him out.
Exactly.
He'll be just
it's pork chop sandwiches. That's my anyways. The like laughing, playing, being silly again, and like there was a bit of a also culturally. Just being light with some topics became like totally, very woke culture. That was also, I think, a little bit of a barrier. Like we were talking about Bill Burr, or was that? That was on the show.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a big comedy fiend.
Me
like,
too.
I love stand up. I love, and I'm not like, I'm agnostic when it comes to the niche. Like if it's dry,
the more offensive, the better.
Exactly. And like to be a comedian now, well, say even 2 years ago, you can't swing the bat unless you're Chappelle. Bill does. Bill appears to not care, but I think he down.
But everyone,
And so, like, I think now the pendulum is swinging a little bit, that we can get silly. We don't have to take ourselves so seriously.
Yeah.
And so I think all these things that we're moving for is going to lead to a healthier and more fulfilled life.
Yeah, I love that.
I grew up in the Middle East, and in the Middle East, the culture of the cafe, like the men's cafe, where you go in, and as you get older, you kind of start to be introduced to that culture of, just men hang out in the cafe. Some are playing backgammon, some are domino. There's poets in the corner reciting poems and sharing ideas and stuff. And I found that culture was really nice because you're really engaging with men. You are learning from different kind of men. You're learning from people in the community who are pillars in the community, the teachers and the professors, every walks of life, but you're not really engaging in behavior that is, you're drinking too much or you're partying too much, and things that you're going to wake up the next morning you regret. And so those are the mentors that we had growing up that are free mentors. You could ask anyone, and they'll tell you about their wisdom, their experience, and what they've done. And those are that's the kind of environment that we need. And so now as things change, you need kind of someone who is a friend who goes to the gym that you can attach yourself with, a friend who has a nice truck that you can go for just having fun on the weekend. And so these are the kind of people. But I think going back to your point, it has to be kind of no purpose. It's just for the joy of hanging out. Yeah, because we're always doing things with a purpose. You're doing that. I'm doing that. It's always, you've got a networking event. You've got this event to attend to. But it's at the end of the day, there's an agenda. And I think I miss that way. We're just hanging out.
Yeah.
I saw this article this morning about some of the grocery stores in Norway have introduced what they call the slow lane. And the purpose of the slow lane is primarily it's seniors that will use it, but it's they can spend more time talking the cashier. They engage and have conversations
without driving us crazy.
Without driving all the time. I've done purpose. I've done it. Right?
You're not here to
connect, right? But what a fascinating concept for. And again, you often see that in Norway or some countries like that seem to be so much more advanced on mental health. Recognizing the need for community and to provide it in an environment like that is radical.
Gentlemen, I feel we could talk all day. So I want to, because I really could, and I hope you both will come back. I would love to do this again. And I think we're talking about subject matter that listeners are going to really resonate with. And but two questions. The first one is fast forward to the end of a man's life. You guys have been there. You've seen it. You've witnessed it. In my former life as a minister and church pastor, both of us sat at the bedside of people passing. What are the biggest regrets that you've heard uttered by people, and their men specifically, in their final moments?
Not having family around you or a community that is around you that cares for you. And I'm reading this book now, The 5 Types of Wealth. And I think in that book really speaks about, people at the end of life. It's no one's going to mention money. No one's going to mention the boat. No one's going to mention, they're going to mention about the experiences, the purpose they had, but also the people and the memories that you have created with the family around you.
Yeah. Love that.
I mean, there's almost nothing to add, to be honest with you. Like I've not once heard a loved one say, "Man, I should have hit that email to Curtis." And, I forgot about that. No, it's almost hard to watch sometimes. Like get a little bit emotional thinking about it. Like times where you've seen family, the need to see a family member, and sometimes they come in, sometimes they don't come, and it can be pretty powerful moments on both ends of that, and that to me has been a key theme. It's the connection with the family. That why didn't I talk to my sister all this time, and this is it. This is it for them, and so I think it's the purpose, it's the connection piece, it's the lives you touch. And yeah, the material shit legit does not matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Love
legit.
that.
We're as we start to wrap up here, I'm gonna one more kind of this question, and I'm going to encourage you, for each of you, as you answer it, is to look into your camera and to speak to men. There you go. Speak to men who are in their 40s and 50s. And what is it that what's one thing you would like to leave with them? And as you're thinking about that, I think, to your point, we have often, as you said, sat by those deathbeds and to see the regret and all of what people go on. And it's why our purpose and our passion is to help people and encourage people to live their life fully today, rather than wait till that moment and wish that you had. So I think this has been such a, I knew it was going to be, I was excited for leading into it. And this is beyond what I could have hoped for. And I agree with Eric that we'd love to have you back. So giving you a bit of time to think about what you would say, but maybe speak to the men that are either watching this and of course listening to it. What would you say to them?
I've already thought about it, so I can go ahead.
Yeah, you go. You
fly.
There you go.
Fly.
Awesome.
I'm a follower of the Stoics, and I read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius every day and when I wake up. And if Marcus Aurelius had the same struggles that we are having right now, and he was one of the biggest influencers and really emperor, we are sharing the same struggles. And I think really at the end of it, life is about struggle. I don't think nobody said life is going to be easy, but I think if you surround yourself with people who could help you grow, that's where life is.
That's so good.
I'm not going to be able to beat that, but I keep going back to this. Boys, gents, find your purpose and everything falls into place.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I think really taking that time to think about what your values are. Think about the times where you felt alive and connected with others, and how can you bring that to the table on a regular basis? And you'll see, you'll start eating better. You'll start wanting to move better. You're going to want to connect with others. Your mood is going to be better. You're going to be sleeping better when you think about what is going to drive you. And dream big. This is this might come a little bit out of the blue here, but I think in our country right now, I focus a lot on the state of healthcare. Like, we need innovation. We need people that are thinking outside the box. And I know a lot of us are feeling that we got to stay in our own little shell. And I'm trying to encourage y'all to have that green light to swing the bat now. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're in the health space, whether you're a teacher, like, fuck it. Swing that bat.
Swing the fucking
let's
bat.
go.
No, I love it.
Elbows up. All right. I'm going to share some chocolate with you.
There we
This
go.
is good. Elbows up.
Elbows
It's
up.
Canadian. It is made here in Canada and the Maritimes. It's actually a beautiful story. If you know the story of Peace by Chocolate, it's by an immigrant who came to Canada, a refugee from Syria.
Wow.
And he uprooted and he started this. This is not a promotion for him in any way.
But we will put the links. If you can provide them, we'll put the links in the show notes.
But this is something that I picked up yesterday, and I thought it really speaks to elbows up in life, speaks up to who we are. Absolutely. Let's
swing
do
the
it.
bat, right? Just swing the bat. Gentlemen, this has been so rich. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for tuning in today for this great conversation. We look forward to having even more. We'll be putting all the information where you can connect with Anmar and with Kwadwo online. These guys are doing some great stuff. You will not be sorry. If you follow them online, you will be encouraged. These guys are just doing some great stuff, and we're honored to have them here today. Okay, I'm going to hijack our regularly scheduled programming and provide you an alternate ending to this episode, because we've got something really exciting that we want you to hear about, especially if you're a male leader over 40, male business owner. This is for you. If you were inspired by the conversation that we just had with Kwadwo and Anmar about the challenges that men in leadership face, then we want you to check out The Foundry. The link is on your screen right now. It's going to be in the show notes as well. You can sign up for more information about a community, a brotherhood that's forming for men, by men, to help you not just win in business, but also win at life. So we hope that you'll check that out. We encourage you to do so. And again, thanks for tuning in this week. And until we see you next time, get out there and live your best life.